Oh, here he comes. There he is.
My brain does really, really dumb things. So,
It does.
so with a Mac, okay, when you close a program, you can so like with Windows, you hit an X in the corner, to close it or whatever, like a browser window. Well, in Mac, the program is still active. Like instead of having the taskbar at the bottom, it's still active up top. And like basically where the file menu would be, sort of in a Microsoft program, you have to
Mm-hmm.
click on that and close the program that way. So when we exited out of Skype, just out of habit, I hit the X on the window and closed it the hard way so that I had
Right.
to wait to get the number to access this meeting.
Ah.
Yeah, so I had to reload Skype over again. It took a while.
Whenever I answer the phone, I'm like, hello.
What pissed you off?
It's a great argument to have.
I love my mom, but I think she's half crazy for doing that.
How dare you?
Do you work with your girlfriend, Mark? Or your wife, Mark?
I keep them separated. Sometimes I call people, they don't answer the phone. I'm like,
Wrong number, click.
Well, he's not that smart. Sometimes he sounds like he knows what he's doing.
yeah.
Go.
But therefore, you're an ass, and I don't want to talk to you anymore.
Yeah, but what do we know? So Mark, I've recently heard that you've been injured in a bar fight, and therefore required medical attention.
It wasn't a bar fight. He was wrestling Wolverines.
Oh, Wolverines, is that what it was?
It was
I
actually-
heard it was kittens.
It was actually a knife cut, so
Whoa.
pretty serious. It
does
involved
Dang.
it involved one shady character. That
You?
would just be me, though. yeah. So I got 4 stitches on my finger, right? This finger.
Rabbit
Yeah.
Island?
Actually, I can even take
Rabbit
the
Island.
off and show you.
Mongoose Cave.
Here's the thing with this. I'll show the stitches. It's not that big of a deal. It wasn't a very serious cut, so I cut it while I was cooking. Now, one of the first things you'll notice is that the image is reversed, but it's on my left hand, but it's my outer finger, right? So when you think about me cutting, you wouldn't necessarily think this finger is the one that gets cut, right?
Wait, let me guess. You were trying at-home Fruit Ninja.
Yeah, that's what it was. Real life Fruit Ninja was not as much fun.
Or is it the new version of the video game Fruit Ninja, and if you actually miss, you get cut in real life?
Actually, I was joining the Yakuza, and then I embarrassed myself, and they required me to cut my finger off. And I didn't do a very good job of that. So here's the my finger with the stitches.
So how did you end up cutting the outside of your finger?
So I was making kimchi. One of my favorite things to do during the winter is to ferment some kimchi. And normally I grab the food and I cut this way, right?
Yeah, like a normal logical person. Understood.
And honestly, no cuts here, so I don't really have an issue with that. But I was cutting a daikon radish, which is a big white radish with like a green top or whatever. So I grabbed the vegetable and I wanted to cut off the radish top, right? So instead of grabbing it this way and then cutting it, I grabbed it this way for some reason, and then decided to cut it that way. But this is not normally how I hold vegetables when I cut it, and I was sort of halfway into my finger before I realized something's not right here. There's a lot of
This daikon radish is bleeding.
And it was actually late at night. I don't know why. I was like, well, I'm just gonna make a whole bunch of kimchi late at night. And
Was there drinking involved?
no, actually, I was totally sober, and I was just like, oh, I was just gonna finish it up. I'm a little tired, but not a big deal. I want to get everything fermented and get ready to be eaten later on. So I just wanted to get it done and over with. And this is seriously like 3 minutes into making kimchi. So this is like way early on in the cooking process. And my wife was upstairs sleeping, and I go, do, son of a, and I just start shouting, but I was listening to a podcast at the same time, so I couldn't hear how loud I was being. But my wife came running down. I was like, "What the heck is going on?" And I was like, "Oh, I think I cut myself." And she says, "Do we need to go to the hospital?" And I go, "I don't know." Because there's a lot of blood, but sometimes, you nick yourself and there's just a lot of blood and it doesn't necessarily need to go to the hospital. When I was living in Oita, a different part of Japan, I cut my foot on something. I can't remember.
You cut your what?
My foot, my toe.
Oh, your foot. I thought you said your butt.
No. Yes. So anyways, I cut my foot, and I probably needed stitches for it. But I was like, no, I'll be okay. And I was like, put a bandage on it, and I held it, and it sort of held for a while, and then I would have to rebandage it, and it held on for a while, and then I would have to rebandage it. And about the third or fourth day, it was still bleeding. And my wife insisted that I went to, the clinic. And by the time I went to the clinic, they're like, it's mostly healed, so we'll just put a bandage on it. I was like, see, I told you. But probably if I would have went in the first day, they would have probably gave me a couple stitches. So my wife didn't want me to just put a bandage on it, so we went to the hospital. I got 4 stitches, and this is the first time I actually went to the hospital, got stitches in my life. And I never knew, one, that the stitches, the material they use to stitch is so thick. And
it can be.
And it looks
there's different sizes of it, but yeah.
Right, and it wasn't a big deal, but I just sort of think it looks really crude. Obviously, you have people who sew toys and other clothing and stuff like that. It looks a lot nicer, and I know it's a different procedure.
The stitch work is not there to look pretty as stitch work. It's what's underneath that counts, because the stitches come out.
I understand. No, I understand that, but I just sort of think,
They could have used sewing machine.
Criticize too much, but I just thought they could have done a much nicer job, used much thinner stitches and
clear stitching material.
I'm sure it was
flesh
just
colored.
I'm sure it was just get it done and over with and get on to the next patient. I did go it was late at night, so I did went to the emergency room, but
well, for one, you don't want it to be a color that's indistinguishable, because when they're putting it in is the important part, and they need to see how the stitching is going when they're doing it. For two, it's not about the way the stitch itself looks, it's the way that the skin underneath looks, because they're trying to pull it together and make it look right when it heals, not in the week that you have the stitches for. They don't give a shit about the week you have the stitches for. Well, 7 days, fucking suck it up, man.
Well, it's not that much I complain. Just thought is different from what I expected, right? And I guess it's one of those things, you play those video games where it's like Surgeon Simulator or those other kind of games where you have to actually cut and surgery and stuff like that.
Operation.
But, Operation.
I'm good at that.
But the way they tie the knot is also different from what I expected. They basically use the clamps that you would use while going fishing. You know what I'm saying?
Hemostats, yeah.
Yeah, where you remove the hooks and stuff. Well, they sort of use that, and they wrap it around, and it's a very different process than I expected. So overall, I think the biggest surprise to me with this is I feel like I could just undo the stitches by hand. I wouldn't need the special tool.
You easily can. There's no special. The special tool is called a scalpel or scissors that they will remove them with at the end of the day. I would honestly suggest to you, unless you're concerned with the way that the stitches look, or the way that if you're concerned you have an infection, you don't need to waste your time when the time frame comes. You can cut them yourself and pull them.
So I was just gonna say,
viewers, no, you should go to the hospital and always follow the doctor's instructions. Mark specifically, I'm telling you, you don't need to deal with that crap.
Yeah, I've taken my own stitches out several times at this point in my life.
Right. So that's one of the things I asked the doctor, because in Japan. This was an emergency room, so I needed a different doctor to remove the stitches. I couldn't come back to the hospital and have him remove it. And he was like, well, I also have to give you a letter of introduction. You have to go to this clinic first, introduce yourself to the doctor, show him your finger, and then come another day to have the stitches removed. And I was thinking to myself, yeah, I could probably remove it myself. So
Yeah, you easily can remove them yourself
and it's only 4
as long as you
stitches.
don't feel that there's anything wrong.
Right. And we're probably gonna wait. He said like
7 to 10 days.
yeah, 5 days probably when I could start removing them, and like 7 days, what he really recommended for stitches removal. So I'm gonna remove them myself. My wife, I think she removed her own stitches as well at some point in her life. So, but
When did you get them placed?
I got it last Thursday. No, that's not. No, Wednesday. Wednesday. I
So
think.
it's been 7 days now, is what you're saying, huh?
Yeah. So sort of.
So I don't know, Mark. It might be a good segment of the
What
Mark's.
could we
Mark's
possibly
stitch
fill the
removal.
rest of the show with?
Yeah, but I mean, I also want to be one of those. I don't want to be one of those people that go back to the emergency room and happen to get the same doctor, and the doctor asks, "Well, what happened?" Well, I thought I would just remove my stitches myself. I know you went through several years in university getting educated to how to remove stitches properly, and I have no education in that, but I thought I could do it.
I wonder how much of the curriculum in doctors in med school it is to actually like do stitches.
So I had stitches once that the doctor couldn't get my finger numb. That was interesting. I don't know if this will show up on camera. You can still kind of probably not.
gosh.
Know. You see that line, kind of diagonal line on my finger?
Like,
Nope.
like this one?
I can kind of see it. It's like cuts. No, the opposite way. My camera's reversed, so I can't do it.
Yeah.
Anyways, I cut it with a box cutter when I was doing drywall,
Okay.
and it just would not stop bleeding. Like it was a real nice slice with a sharp razor blade, but it was really, really deep. And so being at the tip of my finger, like he was trying to give me shots like down here by the knuckle and on the other side to try to make it travel up the finger, and he tried like going right in the cut at one point. I'm like, seriously, you've given me shots like 8 times. Just do it without it. It'll be fine.
Right, and it's
I'm sure I can numb this. I'm like, you literally could have been done. With all the shots you've given me, it would have felt exactly the same as had you just done it, He ended up doing it, and my finger wasn't numb, and it was fine. But
I mean, I don't think the shots hurt that much, but I do think that the shots, and then they inject that liquid that actually has like a sort of a burning, stinging sensation.
Mm.
Now, I could be wrong because I didn't have the stitches done while I wasn't numbed, so I don't know exactly how much it would hurt. But I think it is about the same, right? If you would
I've watched people do staples in somebody's head before. He had like a cut like up in here,
Right.
and it needed 3 staples. And the staples are like just it's literally a staple gun type of thing that you put up and you squeeze and there's the staples in. It's for cuts that are more clean that you
Right.
can just need to basically hold together for a period of time. And she said, this is going to be worse to give you the numbing medication. Do you want us to just do it? Like, we'll do 3 staples. We'll get them done. It'll just be 1, 2, 3. It's going to hurt, but it's going to hurt less than it's going to hurt to give you the medication that's going to numb it. And he's like, yeah, go for it. And so she did. Like, I was in the room when she did the 3 staples. And, dude,
Right.
you could see the guy's face. He was just like, every time she did it, he was like, oh, God. But it was like a small, it was a big pain for a very
It was
small
in a-
It
period
only
of
lasts
time.
for a
Right.
second.
And so she did all 3. And at the end, like, after watching him, like, sit there and squirm and scream, he's like, yeah, I'm good. Like, cool. Like, three
Right. So
in
this
and
not
out,
lasting
like, done. Yeah. It was much better to have it done like that. I personally only had stitches when I was awake once that I can remember. and it was right. It was right up here in my head as well. And I remember the numbing med. I was a little kid as well though, so I was like scared of everything, like needles and all that fun stuff. But
Yeah.
so it hurt like crazy, but I don't know if it really even actually hurt or not. So I was like 6.
So you were saying that they used the staple gun. I would think just the sound of the staple gun would be like adding twice the amount of pain that it would have had. Like if they would just
Probably.
if they could just do it without any sound, it would hurt, but it wouldn't like just the thought of a staple gun going right against the head, like ka-ching, ka-ching, sort of like cringeworthy itself.
Well, I get so annoyed putting IVs in people who. I understand an IV is a needle. It hurts. It's pain.
Don't hurt.
Like it's what?
Needles don't hurt. Come on.
Yeah, needles they really aren't bad at all. Like so the
Right.
people who complain about needles, who are so afraid of needles, I think it's funny because it's just such a lifelong stigma for some people that needles hurt, so they're afraid of them. Some people, you literally go to put the needle in and they immediately like flail and pull their arm back, and then they yell at you that you did a bad job on putting in their IV when they're the ones that are like jumping all around. And you got some other people who you miss like 3 times and then get it, and they're like, no big deal, like whatever. Like,
Yeah, those are the people who had the same parents who also freaked out every time there was a spider in the room or
Yeah, probably.
they saw a bug of any sort, and that the kid just latches onto that.
Yeah.
Let me tell you a story when I was a younger kid about somebody getting a shot.
Go
Oh,
on.
so when I first got adopted, my brother, sister, and I, we all got adopted, and we had to get our shots, our vaccinations or whatever, before we could go to school, right? Because our school required to have these shots. So we went to our family doctor, and we're sitting in the waiting room, and my sister went to get her shots first, which was probably a huge mistake. My brother and I probably should have gone first, because my sister is terrified of needles. Not as much now as when she was a kid, but she was terrified, right? So, I mean, so we're adopted, and we've been with my mother for some time. It's not like, the first day, but she's still a pretty new person, and we're young, so we didn't really fully understand what was going on and why we had to get shots and all these things, right? So anyways, my sister's really scared of needles. And when they went to give her a shot, she was like your reaction. She was pulling away and screaming. And I don't mean like a little bit of screaming, a lot of screaming. And to the point that to give her the shot without hurting her, they rolled her in a rug. So her arms couldn't be swinging, hitting, fighting, kicking, scratching, and biting because she didn't want that needle. I mean, like basically, probably in her mind, she was going to be killed or something like that, and that was her reaction. But for my brother and I, we're in the waiting room waiting to get our shots. And we don't know what's going on in there. All we hear is our sister just screaming her head off, like she's tortured. And, my brother and I were looking at each other like, what the hell's going on?
You're like, this is about to happen to us.
Yeah,
Let's make a break for it.
Like, so, yeah, that seems like a something that would be difficult to deal with.
So what happened? Did you guys deal with it fine?
Yeah, like when we got our shots, it was no big deal. But it built up a lot of anticipation in our heads. But this is the thing with shots. I think maybe doctors may or may not should do, but they should put the needle inside the skin and wait before injecting the fluid inside. They'd be like, the needles don't hurt. It's the fluid going into your body that really.
Well, it's both, and it depends on what it is that they're giving you as well. That's the problem. Is the needle's not painless depending on where it needs to go. Some of the pain, like the pain numbing medication, is actually it's painful. It stings to go in, but it's quick. But if they just stick a needle in, and you're anybody who gets afraid, and you just wait there, like somebody moves and you've lost it, and you have to start over again. Like so, it's. I know. I remember going to a doctor once. I went to a urologist for something, and I was sitting in the waiting room, and I was sitting in the room, like when they pull you into the room, and waiting for the doctor to come in, and this room literally had just a cabinet right in front of the bed with all these instruments in it that they would use, and I think that they were more for like women's examinations and things like that, because they were like super long forceps and all these like metal things, but they were in this cabinet that had a glass door on the front of it. So I'm literally sitting on this thing waiting for the doctor to come in going, I don't know what the fuck they plan on doing to me, but I don't want any of these like instruments coming anywhere near my my pee hole here.
So I have, as somebody who just stated that needles don't hurt, and I have tattoos, and I've never had anything. Needles have never ever bothered me. So not that long ago, I got I had a cavity. First cavity I've had since I was like, I don't even know, 20 or something. It's been a really long time. But I had a cavity, and it was way in the back, one of the back teeth. So in order to numb it, they had to give me a shot like in my mouth, like all the way back, like in the jawline, like it was on the bottom jaw. And it was so weird because they did that, and I thought I was going to pass out. Like, it was totally an involuntary thing. Like, again, I went into this knowing I'm not afraid of needles. Needles don't ever bother me. But whatever my body, just, it did not like that sensation.
No, was it the pain or just the weirdness of it?
It was just the weirdness of it. I immediately started sweating, and I was pale. Like, she said something about me being pale. I felt like I was going to pass out. Like, it was nutty. It was a weird experience.
Were they able to do the cavity thing, or did they have to like wait?
That was another situation where she was like, well, I didn't get it all in there, and I'm like, just do it.
So. Well, I mean, you would think it's one of those situations like, and then I passed out, and my tooth was fine when I woke up. It was the best, operation.
I think that the worst pain that I've had is the ones that they've had to do in my mouth before.
Well,
Any shot
I was
that
going
I've
to say,
gotten in my mouth.
I should clarify that. I didn't say just give me the rest of the shot. I said just do the cavity without the rest of it. That was what I said. So
yeah,
I can take it.
I've had a lot of work done in my mouth, and not that all of them hurt by any means, because some of them don't feel like anything at all. But the worst pain I've ever experienced from a shot, I think, was one random one that was in my mouth somewhere. And I don't know if they hit a nerve just right, or if the medication went in and it just was one of those ones that stung. But I remember one is laying there like, oh, yeah, give me the shot. And I was just like, like as it started going in, because it just like, it hurt so bad. But I didn't like want to show it, but I couldn't not show something because it was just involuntary.
Well, I'm the guy who, when I was like 18 or something, had my wisdom teeth removed. I don't know if you guys remember this, but I had all 4 of them done at once. 2 of them were impacted that they had to cut out, and that I don't remember bothering me at all. And in fact, you guys, I think both of you were there, were playing hockey at Indian Hill that day, or no, it was Russ Park on the tennis courts.
Okay.
And I drove, well, I was dating somebody at the time. Maybe, I don't want to say names, but my girlfriend was there with me to drive me because I wasn't supposed to leave on my own.
All right.
Because of the drugs they gave me or whatever. I remember going to drop off my prescription and coming to the tennis courts. I knew I couldn't play hockey because you can't get your blood flowing, really fast, or heart beating really fast because you'll bleed terribly. Okay. But I remember wanting to play so bad, and I still came up and watched, and I think I took a couple shots or something. Shots like on hockey. And I'm pretty sure I had canceled work that night, but I called in and said, I'm fine, I can come in. So,
I do remember when I got my wisdom teeth pulled, they didn't put me to sleep for mine, though. I drove myself home.
Oh, really?
I wasn't put to sleep, but I don't remember what they gave me.
But I thought you're not supposed to drive with all the
They gave me nitrous and stuff, but they said as long as they didn't put me to sleep, I was allowed to drive home. I had to go sit in the waiting room for I think it was half an hour, and somebody right before I left had to check me out and make sure they thought I was suitable to drive, and they did. And I fucking got in my car and I drove home, and I was only there at the office for like an hour total.
Maybe that's what it was. I just didn't want to wait for the half hour or something, and I just had somebody drive.
Somebody there to drive you home.
Because that was what I had too, was the nose nitrous thing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, actually, that's what I always sort of wonder is like, I know like nitrous and stuff could be a little bit more expensive because you have to have an anesthesiologist or whatever. But like, I mean, whenever I had work done on my mouth, I always, not feared, but I always knew like the needles they inject into your mouth tend to sting a lot more than other shots that I've been given, right? And I always sort of wonder, why don't they just use that topical Novocaine? And if they have to use the shot, like, couldn't they just numb my mouth, then give me the mouth?
They usually do both actually for
Really?
mouth shots. But the thing is, it goes in.
Me.
It goes in deep, and
Right.
it like the topical Novocaine helps the initial needle
Going in.
like going in, but then it's everything else that is painful is like doesn't matter. Like I said, now not I've given myself IVs before. I've let med students practice on me before for IVs. Like needles and stuff don't bother me that much but part of it's because I've been exposed to them for so long and I've done them on other people, and I guarantee sometimes I've been going at other people's IVs, and I'm sure it's hurt because if you miss the first time and you're kind of fishing around in there to get the IV, it's I'm sure the vein, I'm sure it hurts a little bit, but I don't know. I have a whole different thought process on it now from a medical professional standpoint than I do from a.
So would you be less afraid to like, I don't know, pet a porcupine?
No, 'cause that's not with a purpose per se. Like,
Okay.
things have to happen for a purpose.
What if the porcupine had just drank a lot of saline?
It might be okay then. No, but I really think like the fear of needles that people have, I think it's a very misplaced fear, and I wish it would go away because it really makes healthcare very difficult.
People are more afraid of the expected pain of needles than they are the actual pain.
Correct. Correct.
So
Yep.
when I had this, I don't know how well this. Can you guys see that?
Oh my God.
When you had a face,
Oh, you mean
a beard.
So that was a workplace accident where a piece of steel kind of shot like a bullet, and it was a sharp, like thin piece of like banding, steel banding, and it went into my face and halfway out the inside of my mouth, and a little bit the corner that kind of went all the way through stuck into my gum. It was a serious kind of thing. I actually got, I think it was 16 stitches on, it was like, I think 10 on this side, or maybe it was 12 on this side, 12 on the inside, and 4 more.
It's 24.
That in the gum. Like, it was crazy. But that was such a weird thing. I had so many shots that day, and I don't even remember what they were for because I was so messed up on stuff. They gave me
tetanus.
What's that?
Tetanus for one. Numbing stuff for 2.
Yeah, but I had I don't even remember what the pain medication was, and I wish I could remember what that was. But I just remember it felt like in my mind, even though I was on like this pain medication, it became a joke to me that every person I saw gave me a shot.
It's like, oh, I didn't get used to that.
And this was such a stupid injury in the first place. Number one, I thought about not going to the doctor that day because I had too much going on in my life. I didn't want to stop and go. But it was workman's comp as long as I went that day, So I'm like, well,
Right.
I better. And I'm glad I did because.
We got 24 stitches.
Well, and what had happened was actually I had thought that it had kind of worked its way out or something, because since it had gone all the way through and into my gum, and then after the fact, like I was pushing around on it and trying to get it to stop bleeding. And I kind of had like a fish hook in my mouth trying to get the inside to stop bleeding too. And it's like, I couldn't feel anything, Anyways, so I went down there and it became this big argument between Workman's Comp, like the department that handles Workman's Comp claims, and like the ER or whatever, or not ER, but some other floor of the hospital. They were trying to trade me back and forth. Workman's Comp didn't want me because it was too big of an injury or something, and so they kept trying to pass me off, and nobody would make a decision on whose, sort of like quote unquote jurisdiction I was. So
sounds like hospitals for you.
Yeah. So it went all over the place. So long story short, I'll condense the story a little, but I ended up it wasn't Workman's Comp that handled me. It was somebody else. They ended up taking me back, giving me all those stitches. A month later, it was still like kind of swollen and like I feel like it was kind of hard. So I ended up going back on Workman's Comp on like a Monday morning or something like that. They had left the piece of steel in my face and sewed it in. So then I had to go in for surgery and they had to cut it back.
Like, now that it's healed, now we can take it out.
Yeah, I'm surprised. I'm surprised like a cheek thing is a surgery, because they could have literally been like, well, let's just unstitch this, grab it out of there, and like restitch
this was
it
a
back
month.
up.
This was a month later, so it had already healed.
Oh, stitches were gone. Yeah. Metal was still intact.
Yeah. It was kind of a pain in the butt.
Every single time you walk through a metal detector, you're like, what the hell was that?
And by the way, like the worst part about this whole thing was because of the like stitches and stuff on the inside of my mouth for the first injury.
Yeah.
I wasn't supposed to eat anything but like cottage cheese and yogurt and mashed potatoes, and I was only supposed to chew on the other side of my mouth, And so like that went on for like a month because again, it was still kind of painful and swollen, and so I didn't know what was going on there, so I kept trying to just do that on the one side. Well, then they had to cut it open again, and it hurt to eat anything. So probably it was like a month and a half or something went by that was all I ate was mashed potatoes, cottage cheese, and yogurt. I lost like 15 pounds. I was starving to death by the time it was over.
The best diet ever is the unexpected medical diet.
Yeah, if you love mashed potatoes, so you would love that.
I do love mashed potatoes. I was actually really, really, really sick over Thanksgiving this year. Yeah, I was really sick. And during our Friendsgiving that we had on Saturday, which was the first time that I was going to actually have a Thanksgiving meal, is when like the worst of it was. All I ate was like 2 or 3 bites of mashed potatoes, and I only like forced those down my throat because I was like, I am so hungry, like I so want food, but I'm so disgustedly sick right now. But I'm like, I really want mashed potatoes now. So I was just like eating little bites of mashed potatoes, and it made things really bad. But I eventually got better, and on like Monday I had like this huge like fucking Thanksgiving plate that I made from all of our leftovers, and I finally was better and able to eat.
I was super upset that I didn't have leftovers this year. Did I talk about that on the episode after Thanksgiving?
We didn't have an episode after Thanksgiving.
Oh, didn't we?
Wait.
I thought we recorded when you were I joked about you wearing a Snuggie on that episode.
Oh yeah, that's right. No, we didn't talk about like what to do, because that was Friday night, because so Saturday was the day that I had because we recorded on Friday, and Saturday was my Friendsgiving, so I was still even worse on Saturday than I was after recording last week.
So I went up north to my dad's house, and I've talked about what a mess my family is. They actually overall everybody held it together pretty good. Like nobody
died.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was kind of incredible. Like we functioned like a normal family is kind of supposed to. So I don't know what's going on there. It makes me suspicious that Christmas is going to be like off the charts.
So or somebody just like somebody dying of something. It's like, oh, that's why.
Yeah, that's like an outlier on the line graph, But anyway, so normally we would just take a bunch of leftovers home from them because they cook, tons of stuff. But they have what's called a Michigan room on the lake side of their house. This is my dad and stepmom. They live on a lake. The Michigan room is just mostly glass. It's mostly a glass room to sit out and look over the lake, you know. Well, it was an add-on. They added it on after they bought the house. And so there's no like heating ducts or anything like that. And it gets cold, obviously, in Michigan during the winter months. So they have a big space heater out there. And also because it's an add-on, the windows, like on the lake side of the house that were originally on the outside of the house, now go between the main area of the house and the Michigan room. So they still like have outdoor windows, you know, connecting the two rooms that they can just open, turn on the space heater, and then, you know, it warms up. Well, for whatever reason, the Thanksgiving night, it didn't get down like to cold enough, like refrigerator temperature. It stayed like in the 50s until well after midnight, which is unusual this time of year in Michigan. But and they put all the food in the Michigan room thinking it was going to get really cold overnight. So it sat at like 54 degrees for like 12 hours. Just
it's still good. It's still good.
No. So we're like, do we want to take the chance on food poisoning? No, I don't think we do.
So it was just wasted then, is what you're saying?
Pretty much. Like I think my niece might have ate some the next day, and I think she was okay, but I don't know if anybody.
God rest her soul.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody rolled the dice on taking that home.
Oh, that's unfortunate, because leftovers are one of the best things about Thanksgiving.
I know, seriously. To the point where my wife is talking about over, like, at some point during our Christmas break, doing, not a turkey, I don't think, but, like, you know, cooking a whole chicken and doing, like, a chicken version of Thanksgiving so that we have all the leftovers.
Wow.
It's always nice. I love leftovers.
No. All right. Should we get out of here?
We should.
We call it. We're calling it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching this week. Stay tuned next time for more What Do We Know? As always, I'm Jeff.
I'm Mark.
Oh!
I was even trying to throw it all off by doing the intro and starting it off myself.
You know
at
what?
The outro. And
Actually, you doing that intro reminded me, I don't think we did one the last episode.
I don't think we did one at all last time. Nope.
No.
Nope.
Yeah, get a brand out there.
I'm going to edit that in.
I'm waiting to see the things that we're gonna see. All the things, all the news articles, like the amazing new podcast that nobody knows what it is.
Yeah.
They've never talked about themselves.
That's the one that will go viral.
If only we had a 30-second intro that had music and best of clips attached to it.
I know. It's crazy, right?
All right. See you guys later.
See ya.
Right. Whenever I answer the phone, I'm like, hello.
What pissed you off?
It's a great argument to have.
I love my mom, but I think she's half crazy for doing that.
How dare you?
Do you work with your girlfriend, Mark? Or your wife, Mark?
I keep them separated. Sometimes I call people, they don't answer the phone. I'm like,
Wrong number, click.
Well, he's not that smart. Sometimes he sounds like he knows what he's doing.
yeah.
Go.
Therefore, you're an ass, and I don't want to talk to you anymore.
Yeah, but what do we know?